Hey, it's Demetrius Alecos here. I promote the Cities Showdown, April of every year, and I promote the Wisconsin State Championships in October of every year here in Wisconsin. And prior to yesterday, the addition of the Wellness Division was made known that we were going to have it in 2020. And then the criteria was just announced yesterday. So I wanted to touch base on that. I'm not here to add clarity per se, just give you some perception. Now, I've been doing this for 20 years. I used to promote shows that had only men's and women's bodybuilding. And then the addition of figure came in, and it was per se ill-received by women's bodybuilders. And then of course it came into its own, and for a time, a lot of the figure girls looked like miniature bodybuilders because those were the women who were already competing. And so we had the evolution of figure from women's bodybuilding. And of course, as the sport as well as the division matured and people were coming into it and people were scaling down their physiques, you have what you have today. A lot of the figure competitors back in the 2000s, if you look between 2000 and 2010, looked like miniature bodybuilders because they were. Now, like I mentioned before, there was some pushback from the female bodybuilders. And then you had the addition of men's physique, which got killed because the bodybuilders didn't like the men's physique. And they didn't have any other reason for the fact that they weren't true bodybuilders. A lot of pushback between the two divisions. And of course, you have what you have today. You have 10 times more men's physique competitors than you have actual bodybuilders. And again, there was a maturation process that the men's physique took, and then you have what you have today. A very popular, a very good move by the NPC IFBB with the addition of figure, and then the addition of men's physique. Home run, home run. And then there was the addition of bikini. I'm going to tell you that the bikini competitions in the early days were not good, okay? There was no criteria to go off of, just like every first year of every division, and in some cases it bleeds over into the second year. We had the same thing happen when the introduction of women's physique, which I'll get to in a minute. So when bikini came into play, there was very little to go on. From a judging criteria, it was very hard. I can't begin to tell you how difficult it was, how many discussions were taking place at the judging table before and after the shows to make sure that we were trying to stay true to the guidelines that were handed down from the NPC, okay? And then we have what we have today. Then women's physique, the cancellation of women's bodybuilding and the addition of women's physique. And now, when it first seen the competitions, there really wasn't any pushback, but of course you had women bodybuilders graduating into women's physique because they got canceled. So they really had nowhere else to go but women's physique. And of course at that time they were told, well, you're too big. So you literally had women going down in weight, sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds to try to fit into the category and the criteria. They were kept being told over and over and over that you're too big, you're too big, you're too big. Now, I can't tell you how hard it is, in some cases, to lose muscle after you've worked for it for so long. Your body, like once you get it to a point where it's used to having muscle, you literally have to starve yourself, which of course is not going to happen, to lose muscle. Your body becomes acclimated to the workload, to the eating habits, to the metabolism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the last couple years, 2018, 2019, 2017, we've seen the women's physique graduate and take hold as to what we expect it to be today. And obviously, Miss Olympia looks amazing. I just saw her this last weekend in Minnesota at the Minnesota State Championships. So in any division, you're looking for that shoulder to waist ratio. And then everything else after that, we could break it down, it would be here for 5 hours. And then of course everybody has their opinions. Which leads us to the wellness. there has been an enormous, and I mean enormous, amount of pushback and criticism about the introduction of the Wellness Division from the NPC IFBB side. They've already been doing the Wellness Division for years in Brazil and Portugal and so on and so forth. So when you look at the genetic potential of certain people, there are women who naturally have bigger butts, bigger legs, bigger shoulders, and they're never, ever, ever going to compete in a bikini contest or division because they literally carry too much mass, okay? And then at the same time, they don't fit into the figure division because they just have a fuller body. I don't think I need to go into detail when I say a fuller body. Obviously, they weight train. From a leanness standpoint, they're definitely not as lean as women's figure. Not even close to women's physique. But they're not as soft. I would say they're close to being as soft as women's bikini, but they're just fuller. What I mean by fuller is your butt, your legs, your shoulders, your arms. So in some ways, it's basically a softer, bigger bikini. Maybe not softer. I mean, you can definitely see if you go back on YouTube and you find Portugal, you find Brazil, Wellness Division, you can clearly see very, very quickly the difference between bikini and Wellness Division. So I would say take your time, just like the introduction of every other division since the inception of figure, then men's physique, then women's physique, bikini. Okay, it all took time. Okay, but because the NPC and the IFBB are so organized and they are so used to judging all the different divisions, they can quickly and clearly define what they're looking for. Now, of course, we won't have any real examples in the United States until, when it starts in January of 2020. But we can all get a good idea referencing those videos on YouTube, what the Wellness Division is going to entail. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of women out there who are just bigger and fuller that haven't done well in a bikini, and they don't want to necessarily lift weights and get bigger to compete in a physique competition. So all the criticisms out there that the NPC and IFBB are just doing this so they can make more money, when you clearly can see the difference between the divisions, that is the most ridiculous comment I have ever heard. They've said that about bikini, they said that about men's physique, and so on and so forth. And look where we are today. We have a better and a bigger sport than we've ever had. So when I look at all the decisions that the NPC has made since I started with them 20 years ago, everything has been a home run. It has never, ever been scaled back in quality or judging. I support the NPC 100%. I always have. I have had spirited conversations with other organizations, and they're doing the same thing we are, so I don't understand what the discrepancies are that they have with the NPC. If you want to do another organization, fantastic. This is just the one I grew up with. This is the one I've supported. This is the one that I've always been with. There's just some loyalty there, obviously. So, as always, if anybody has any questions, that's what I'm here for. I'm a promoter. I work for the athlete. I get a lot of DMs, I get text messages and phone calls, and as long as I got the time, which I normally do, I have no problem having conversations with people to clarify, point you in the right direction, give you my opinion, because that's really what it is. It's my opinion. And you go from there. All right, this is Demetrius Alecos for the Cities Showdown and the Wisconsin State Championships. Again, if you need anything, let me know.